So I'm not aware of any people specifically related to Newburyport who passed away, but Councilor Connell pointed out today is the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, which is probably the site of the most horrific crime ever. 1.1 million people were murdered there. So maybe we could have a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Call the roll. Roll call for the meeting of January 27th. Councilor Khan.
Present.
Councilor Lane. Here. Councilor McCauley.
Present.
Councilor Shan.
Present.
Councilor Contar.
Present.
Councilor Vogel.
Present.
Councilor Wallace.
Present.
Councilor Z.
Here.
Councilor Connell.
Present.
Councilor Devlin.
Here.
Councilor Agaman.
Here.
You're all present.
Any late file items?
There is one late file item on your desk. It's communication 226, letter from James McCarthy.
Motion to waive the rules and accept the late file items.
Any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we'll take that up under communications. That's right before orders, in between appointments and orders. Public comment? We have 3 people signed up. Please come up when I call your name and state your name and home address, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Jean Costello, 522 Merrimack Street.
Hello, I'm Jean Costello, 522 Merrimack Street here in Newburyport, and I've applied to fill an upcoming vacancy in the Human Rights Commission. So I believe in your packet you have a resume, and I've tried to share that I have civic experience in previous communities and right here in Newburyport. And I wrote a letter to describe how I have, like many of you, probably experienced being enfranchised in some situations and disenfranchised in others. And coming to Newburyport, I've been very enfranchised and welcomed, and I want to do what I can to make sure everybody has those same benefits. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Bernier or Bernier from 14 Skyview.
Hi, my name is Chris Bernier. I believe one of the items on your agenda tonight is the Spring Half Marathon coming up on April 26th. Just wanted to introduce myself. Although my address is New Hampshire, I've spent a lot of time in Newburyport directing races for Green Stride and for the Loco group, so I'm very familiar with working with Rick and the cross-country team. It is benefiting the YWCA, and I just came down, actually flew in from Key West from directing a race down there up here just to make sure that if you had any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer, and we'd love to benefit the town through our event. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last speaker, Jane Snow, 9 Coffin Street.
Jane Snow, 9 Coffin Street. I just wanted to say that I was so pleased to read in the Daily News that the superintendent of schools and the Newburyport Youth Foundation, I believe I've got that correct, were able to put together a packet or such that our juniors and seniors will now be able to take a college course, and being a retired educator, that just was, I thought, fantastic, and it was such a great thing. So I just wanted to make sure that they hear that all of the public is excited that this is going to happen at the high school. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for public comment. Mayor's comment.
Thank you, President Agaman, members of the City Council, members of the House here and at home. The items that are on the City Council agenda tonight, you have a request for additional funding to complete the feasibility study at the fire station. There is copious supportive information from the chief and from Jordy Vining to support that request. Again, looking at the 2 sites and also the possibility of adding a couple components components of headquarters that might ultimately reduce the capital needs for that station, which are upcoming also. But again, we're here to answer questions and support any of your debate and dialogue over that request. Ethan Manning has put together the mid-year budget report, as always. I think in general we're doing very well. The mid-year expenditures were at 47.8%, where we like them to be. The general fund, 50.7%, water enterprise, 41.5%, sewer, and 57.8% for harbor master, which makes sense because their heaviest season is in the summer. I would like to especially thank Councilors McCauley and Tonter for working on short-term rental legislation, and I look forward to your deliberation on this, and will certainly be contributing comments to that also. As a new ordinance was passed last year that we worked on, that you would then, as other appointments, confirm the city solicitor in January. So we got your appointment in for KP Law. There is a letter from Mark Rich representing the firm, and he is aware that you will most likely be calling him to come, maybe even with his team, for a meeting. I would just like to take a moment and also strongly support the reappointment of two of our strongest department heads, Ethan Manning, who is our finance director, and Tony Fernari. They have been outstanding department heads in the city. The governor's House 1 budget dropped this past week, and I attached the cherry sheet to the back of your update so that you can see overall how we're faring. Chapter 70 funding is up 2.9%. UGA stands for undesignated general government accounting, which is up 2.8%. There's a little bit of shift from the charter school funding, which was actually taking more of our Chapter 70 over the last couple weeks. So we're hoping that as the budget winds its way through the legislature, where we'll see continued improvements, or at least that's where things stand. We'll keep you posted as we learn more about that. The Lombardi Lot 9 Titcomb Street, there's been obviously a lot of coverage about a lease agreement between the city and Newburyport Development, and I just wanted to make a couple clarifications. I take full responsibility for misstep in quickly signing an agreement without really vetting it to the level that it should have been. It's now in the hands of KP Law, and to clarify that the city will be paying rent to any Newburyport Development, and they in turn will be paying property taxes on that lot, which was always the plan all along. It just didn't quite come out that way in that agreement. So I apologize for the confusion on that, but that is being cleared up. Unfortunately, we still have two deep hot spots that are have been discovered at the rail trail, as well as some other ancillary ones, but we're still encouraged that we will have the cleanup completed during the winter months. And I just signed, we have contingency in this project, and I just signed an additional $6,000 extension for the LSP, licensed site professional, which is required on site for the cleanup. So I'll keep you posted on that one. As I mentioned at my last update, all of the deeds have been submitted to the Committee on Third Reading of bills, and Matt had checked with Representative Calcourse's aide, and so far no questions, but I'm sure there's going to be more questions from the group that's reviewing this, but I will also keep you posted as more information becomes available on that. We hope to finally get the appraisal from DCAM this week. It was completed when they originally told us the end of December, but there were problems with it. We're not sure what all those problems were because we weren't privy to the internal review, but we'll certainly relay that information to you as soon as we get that appraisal. We've been doing a tremendous amount of work with MEMA out on Plum Island. In fact, The head of MEMA, Samantha Phillips, I think I told you, came out for a site visit recently, and we're trying to buy time with getting some sand reserves until we can work in a couple years go out to dredge the river. So we'll keep you posted on that one too. Beta Engineering was back last week working on completing the plan that they presented the overview back in October 22nd, I believe it was. And we hope to have that plan completed this week on a draft, and then we will be holding another public meeting on that, and of course, working with the council as we move forward on paving and sidewalk work. Happy to report that it looks like tentatively this week, the engineer for the Highway Safety's insurance company will be coming to do a site inspection and will be relayed the information from our independent contractor on our discovery of what happened once Highway Safety removed the paint. Thank you to all who are participating in the Charter Review Committee. This is an important piece. Again, it's just minor revisions, and they've got some scrambling to do to get their work done before May, and we certainly are here to support and help you in any way possible. Another positive is that last year, a group of counselors came and asked if we could start adding more videotaping to meetings, and you'll note on the hub, Newburyport Hub YouTube site, the last ZBA and the last planning board are posted, so that is underway. A couple other things of important events. I was invited to the State of the Commonwealth on the 21st, and it was very encouraging to hear the governor's priorities on transportation, school funding, housing, and climate change. And then several counselors, as well as about a dozen department heads attended the MMA annual conference in Boston. Wealth of workshops, tons of information, really, really worthwhile event. The Lieutenant Governor spoke, the Attorney General spoke, and then, of course, we too our traditional picture of all the female mayors at that meeting. I also spoke at the Rotary Lunch on the 21st. Tomorrow I go out to Fitchburg State University as a recipient of the Complete Streets $400,000 award. And we'll keep you posted on that. On February 6th, in the afternoon, we'll be hosting the next Merrimack River District Commission meeting, which is all the work that's happening on the CSOs. And that Matt and I certainly have been very pleased in our meetings with, I think we've met with most of the counselors. I would really encourage anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to meet with us and go over their priorities to please schedule a meeting soon. I will. Thank you, Councilor Devlin. And of course, on February 6th at 7 p.m. at the Senior Center, I will be giving the annual State of the City address, and look forward to all of you participating, and it's open to members of the public to join.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions for the mayor? Seeing none, I guess we'll proceed. Thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Consent agenda.
Tonight consists of the minutes for the approval of the January 13th meeting. There's one transfer 67, which is legal settlements, $11,000 to fence repairs. That's to go to Budget and Finance. The following communications, 220, proposed City Council Rule 9F, the Rules Committee. Communication 221, letter regarding a sign at 43 Pine Hill Road to go to Public Safety. Communication 222, the FY 2020 mid-year budget report to go to Budget and Finance. Communication 223, Newburyport Spring Half Marathon for April 26, 2020 to go to Public Safety. Communication 224, North Shore Tour de Cure 5/17/2020 to go to Public Safety. Communication 225, Lieutenant Derek Hines Flag Day 5K race, June 13th, 2020, also to go to Public Safety. Following first reading of appointments. Appointment 141, Jean Costello, 522 Merrimack Street, to the Human Rights Commission until 1/1/2023. Appointment 142, Matthew Pniziak, 39 Marlborough Street, Waterfront Trust, until 1/1/2025. That will go to Planning and Development. Appointment 143, KP Law, 101 Arch Street, Boston, solicitor, 2/1/2021. That'll be referred to general government. Following items recited will be removed from their respective committees. Budget and Finance Committee, Transfer 66, Order 164, Appointment 138. Neighborhood and City Services Committee, Communication 194, Communication 196, 197, and 219, Appointment 139. And License and Permits Committee, Communication 217. And that is the consent agenda this evening.
Counselor Zede.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to amend just to add Committee of the Whole for KP Law for
Second.
general government.
Okay, just to clarify, that means we'll need a 2/3 supermajority on the consent. Any other motions?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Debate? It had been amended, so I have to debate it. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? I believe it's unanimous. Okay, moving on. Mayor's update.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Passes. Transfers.
Quick point of order.
Sure.
The gentleman that was here from the race, maybe we ought to let him know that we're not going to be taking that up at this meeting.
Okay. Out of courtesy, when do you think, so that's being referred to public safety?
Mondays.
Okay. All right.
Has been.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, on to the transfer.
Transfer 68, which is $50,000 from free cash to Fire Station Number 2 Design Feasibility Study, same amount.
Councilor Tantar.
Motion to refer to the Committee on Budget and Finance.
Second.
Councilor.
Point of order. Were we going to have sorry, check it up. Thank you, Council President. I know we talked about transfers having sponsors. Did we want to also include a sponsor before we refer it?
That's a good idea. With the councilor, yes. I think the chair is indicating he would be willing to sponsor.
I'd be happy to sponsor.
Okay, so let's do that. Any other sponsors? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any debate on the motion to refer to Budget and Finance? See anybody volunteering? Let's take a vote. All those in favor of referral? Say aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. It's referred. Appointments.
Would you prefer to take Communication 226 or
No, I think we do appointments first.
appointment 132, George Sass, 37 Jefferson Street, Harbor Commission, alternate, 1/13/2022. It's the second reading. Appointment 133, Janet Morris, 288 Merrimack Street, Tree Commission until 1/13/2023. Following are reappointments. Appointment 134, Karen B. Weiner, 7 Lincoln Street, Affordable Housing Trust until 11/30/2022. Appointment 135, Paul Gardacci, 135 Beach Road, C5, Salisbury, Constable for the City of Newburyport until 12/1/2022. Appointment 136, Gary Gorski, 18 Magnolia Street, to the Library Board of Directors until 1/1/2027. Appointment 137, Sarah T. Spalding, 280 High Street, Library Board of Directors until 1/1/2027.
Motion to approve 132 and 133 on second reading and the remaining items all together collectively.
Second.
Okay, is there any debate on that? All right, let's do a roll call on these.
Roll call on all of those appointments collectively. Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tonto.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel.
Yes.
Councilor Wallace.
Yes.
Councilor Z.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Eigenman.
Yes.
Goof me up.
Unanimous.
Okay, that's it for appointments. Let's move then to Communication 226.
Communication 226 is a letter from Jim McCarthy, 17 Russia Street, regarding a request for a financial inquiry addressed to the Newburyport City Council through its president, Jared Eigenman. And it's on Councilor's desk.
Councilor Lane.
Motion to move to Planning and Development.
Second.
Any debate? Yes, Councilor Khan.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I was going to actually, I was thinking general government, but if the group thinks planning and development makes sense, then I would defer there. But I just wanted to know if there should be any discussion in terms of where. So in my head, I was thinking general government.
Other councilors? Councilor Shan,
I would agree, general government would be the better place for this one.
general government. Well, let's go to the code. I think general government has jurisdiction over anything essentially it's not assigned to something else. The tax collector, I believe, is under the jurisdiction of business, budget and finance, but land affairs are under planning and development. So with that information, any other, I mean, we have a motion on the floor to go to planning and development. You can make a motion to amend. Really up to the councilors what they want to do. You could do together, you could do as a whole.
So I'll make a motion to withdraw and resubmit to
Budget and finance.
Budget and Finance.
And I'll withdraw my second and then double second or whatever.
I will second the referral to budget and finance.
So we have a motion from Councilor Lane to send to budget and finance, seconded by Councilor Khan. Any further debate? No, seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Very defensive.
Okay. Charlie gets it. That's it for communications. We don't have any orders. Ordinances.
Ordinances would be right here. They would be ordinance number 46. We have two relating to short-term rentals. This is section VD, table of use. It's a change to short-term rental unit. It's an addition, I believe. That is submitted by jointly Councilors McCauley and Tantar.
Motion to refer that to planning and development?
Second.
Any debate on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's referred. Next.
Ordinance 47, this also is short-term rentals. It's an amendment to Chapter 9 with respect to short-term rental units. There's a Section 9, 300 purposes, there's definitions, and it goes on for 10 pages. And it is also likewise jointly submitted, Councilors McCauley and Tantar.
May I ask who the enforcement agency is? It might help us on directing it.
Motion to send to licensing and permits.
Second.
Any debate on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's referred. Thank you.
Which committee was that to?
That's going to license and permits. So I think we're now to committee reports. Let's start with budget and finance. Councilor Tonto.
Motion to receive and file transfer 66.
Second.
Any debate? Councilor.
So when the committee met, we were told by the finance director that just that afternoon, they'd received a communication from the school department that the design company that had put together the estimate of $84,000 to do phase 4 of the woodwork restoration on the high school thought that $84,000 was insufficient, that actually they thought the bids would come in closer to $127,000 to finish it. So the administration asked us to receive and file that until they could review the new information. And the committee voted 3-0 to do so. I included in the minutes to our meeting the financial data provided by the administration.
Any further debate? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's received and filed. Next matter?
Motion to approve Order 164, Connors Scholarship Gift Acceptance.
Second. Second by Councilor Khan. Debate?
Yes, this is a Josephine and Nora Connors Scholarship Trust. The committee requested that we get the description of it. And actually, I got to tell you, when I got the description, I was touched by this, so I'm going to read it because I think it's significant. So this scholarship was established by Dr. Paul E. Fortin, class of 1948, in memory of his mother, Josephine Connors Fortin, and his aunt and legal guardian, Nora Connors Ring. Paul was orphaned at an early age and abandoned by his father, leaving the responsibility of parenting to his aunt. Both Josephine and Nora were instrumental in shaping Paul's life, and he's offering this scholarship in this honor. So committee voted 3-0 that we accept the scholarship.
Any further comment? All those in favor of acceptance? Aye. Any opposed? It's accepted. Anything else?
Yes, motion to approve the appointment 138 of the Director of Finance, Ethan Manning.
Second.
Debate?
So the committee voted 3-0 to approve the reappointment of the Finance Director. In committee, we just mentioned the fact that the chair had worked with the finance director for 6 years. The two other members of the budget committee have worked with him for the past 2 years, and we have found him to be extremely well informed, but also very, very willing to answer our questions and provide us with whatever data that we wished to receive. Ward 1 councilor asked Mr. Manning what his perception of working with the council was, and Mr. Manning said that he welcomed the greater attention to budget detail that had been evidenced by the council over the past couple of years. Ward 1 councilor also asked the finance director's opinion on bonding and the constraints facing bonding, and the finance director indicated that we were facing some very tough decisions, and we might need to look at a bond override if we wanted to do everything that we wanted to do in the fire station, say the youth center, and the like. At large, Councilor Khan asked if individual committee members could ask Mr. Manning questions without going through the chair, and Mr. Manning said he was very willing to do that. And I bet you'd be willing to do that for any councilor on the budget. And so the recommendation was 3-0. And that's what you get when we have asked me to write minutes. Sorry.
Councilor Devlin.
I can't believe it wasn't mentioned, but I think there's something about we might have a AAA bond rating. It's always Ethan Manning and AAA bond rating always seem to go together. So that's it for me.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the reappointment of Ethan Manning as Finance Director, say aye.
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 It's a roll call.
So this is for the appointment of Ethan Manning. Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley. Yes. Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tantar.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel.
Yes.
Councilor Wallace.
Yes.
Councilor Z.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Yes.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Eigenman.
Yes.
That is unanimous for, I believe, the fine Director of Finance.
Anything else? That's it for the committee. Committee report on education.
Yes.
Councilor Khan.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. The Committee on Education has its first meeting of this new term on Monday, February 3rd at 5:30 to 6:30. We, in terms of who from the City Council is on the Education Committee, it's Councilor Connell and Councilor Zeid. And then from the School Committee, we have, as my co-chair, will be Sean Reardon, and then also Bruce Menon, and we have Brian Callahan. So that's the 6 members, and then the superintendent plans to attend as well. In terms of our agenda, I hope everyone who's interested to hear about the MCAS, and we were going to get a report last year, but then there was a snowstorm, so we deferred that over to this first meeting so people could hear about the MCAS in terms of what the results were and get a little bit of introduction and some background and some historical information from the superintendent. Also on the agenda, we have also put in trying to understand maybe some of the goals and actually how the budget process starts and all the input, how the school councils with the school committee and the superintendent come together in terms of putting together the budget, given that that's going to be coming before us as well. And then finally, another agenda item is to look at some of the trends that the school's seeing in terms of enrollment, and possibly if they could come up with any forecasting given any information they have now. So I encourage people, if anything, I will try to take notes as well and convey how that meeting goes. Thank you.
Thank you. General government, I'll give the report as the chair. So we just took in the proposed renomination of KP Law. So that's committee of the whole. I think we should, I might as well poll the group now about when they might want to have that. I'll have to check with the mayor as well. She's an ex officio member, but it would be good just to hear from counselors how loaded up they are in the next 2 weeks. I figure because we're going to want them to come up from Boston, Mark Rich and probably some other members of his team. So I want to give them enough warning. What does next week look like? How about 6th is no good. How about the 5th?
There's a charter committee meeting, Mr. President.
What time is that one?
7 p.m. is what I have on my calendar.
Okay,
Do I
well,
have
that's
that?
The 4th. The 5th? Well, I'm looking at the wrong month.
Wednesday the
It's the
5th.
5th.
Yes.
And actually, Mr. President, attorney from KP is coming out to meet with the Charter Commission, Louise Goldberg, that night at 8. So, I mean,
Which way does that cut? Okay, we should put it together or not put it together?
well, Public Utility has a meeting at 6:30. Charter,
I think it sounds like next week is just too soon.
yeah.
All right, a week of the 10th, we have a meeting, our council meeting is on Monday the 10th.
It is.
I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry, I'm wrong. Wrong month.
Oh, okay. How about the 11th? How does Tuesday 11th look? I mean, can you stand back-to-back nights?
I'm available on the 12th only.
On the 12th? You prefer the 12th?
There's another charter
There's a youth
committee,
mental health forum that night.
another charter review at 8, but we could do before.
Could do it, if you can do it before 8, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so if that's at 8, why don't I try and set it up for 6:30 on the 11th? How about that?
12.
The 12th, you mean?
I'm sorry, the 12th?
The 12th.
The youth, I think youth services, is
Yeah,
that?
but there's a youth services event at 7 I'd like to avoid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try for 6 then. Can people make it at 6?
Yes.
6 on the 12th?
On the 12th. And again, I have to confirm all this with the mayor and KP Law, but so pencil in the 12th at 6 o'clock, and I'll see if that works for everybody.
Yeah, we have charter.
And that's all I had in general government. License and permits.
A motion to approve communication, is that 217? No? Class 2 vehicle license, state automotive.
Second.
Councilor Devlin.
3.5 out of licensing permits, no issues. They've had the license before since 2016.
Any further comments or debate? Seeing none. This is a license. We can still do this by voice vote.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Neighborhood and city services.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and through you to the members. We had 5 items that we took up on Wednesday the 22nd. Let me just dispense with the first one. Livable streets we decided to keep in committee, so we're not going to report on that tonight. The second was a communication 196, and I would like to move that we receive and file.
Second.
Are these, I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk, are those ones we already pulled out on the consent agenda?
They are, and
Yeah,
since you
okay.
raised it, Mr. President,
Sorry, I'm
communication
living in the past.
194, in order to put it back.
Okay.
be in
Any
order.
any
Motion.
debate on the motion? I don't see any.
Which motion?
I'm sorry,
196.
if we haven't reported it out, do we have to send it back?
It was taken out, I think, in consent.
All right,
so
then
just a motion
let me
to recommit.
withdraw my previous motion and move that we recommit Communication 194 to the committee.
Second.
Any debate on that? Seeing none. All those in favor of recommitting it?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's recommitted.
And Mr. President, I'd like to move that we receive and file Communication 196.
Second.
Any debate on that? All those in favor?
Just a report on that matter.
Oh, you want to report, please?
Just a quick report on that. The committee voted 3-0. The general discussion centered around the High Street fiasco that we're all familiar with. We had had a report from the mayor previously on that. Mr. Fernari was quite forthcoming in terms of where that's going, but for public consumption, I think it's worth noting that we are not in litigation, but we are in negotiations with the insurer for the company that did the striping and then grinding the surface again. Hopefully, we'll get a settlement between now and June, which would give us time to find contractors who are available to repair the work that was improperly done. It is conceivable, and people should keep in mind, according to Mr. Fernari, that we won't get it done in this year, depending again on what happens with the insurer.
Any other comments on that before it's received and filed? Councilor Tantar.
Yeah, I was the author of Communication 196, and I did ask some questions on High Street. I also asked questions about the work that was done on Merrimack Street. And I'm wondering if we could get a report on your conversation with the DPS director and that.
Yeah, the DPS director was also, and I shouldn't have neglected this one, DPS director was straightforward with this one as well. The work is expected to continue as soon as the construction season is clear and you can get a contractor on site. The work that was done previously was only partial, as we understand. We still have to take up some storm drains and manhole covers and raise them a bit because of the additional paving that's going to be going down Merrimack Street. There are also some questions about sidewalk repairs that are as yet unresolved. Both those that were obvious when there was some question about the use of the improper materials, but in addition to that, there's some questions about which trees have to be removed, and if you walk down the old sidewalk near the base of Ashland Street, you'll see that there are a couple of trees that have heaved the pavement up, and they've got to decide what to do about that.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councilor? Councilor Tantar.
So will the committee have further discussions on the use of materials? And because that's outstanding at this point, whether we use asphalt or cement.
Councilor Connell, then Councilor McCauley.
I defer to Councilor McCauley.
Yeah, we discussed this, and we've made a general consensus proposal that we'd like to amend the sidewalk ordinance. We haven't done it yet, but we want to amend that ordinance to have 3 categories: historic, urban, and rural, and be able to change upon approval. We are working through the approval entity to make that decision to change the materials accordingly. So it's a closed item in terms of the letter, but it's an open item that we've agreed to take on and write as an amendment to the ordinance that was done.
Thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I believe the motion is to receive and file. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's received and filed. Next item.
Mr. President, I move to receive and file Communication 197.
Second.
Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. President, through you to the members. The committee heard some discussion with Phillips Drive residents and was coming on the heels of the mayor's meeting with residents. There are still some questions about exactly how the work that's going to be done down there is going to be scheduled. However, there's a general agreement that Phillips Drive and the drainage problems there are going to be addressed in a more serious fashion this year. I think it is long overdue. I think the people of Phillips Drive are due our apology as a city for not having addressed this issue earlier. But the committee voted 3-0 to receive and file this matter with the understanding that the administration is actively pursuing some remedies that are going to meet with the satisfaction of the neighborhood.
Any questions from other councilors? Councilor Zede.
Yeah, I didn't come in planning to oppose receive and file, but now that I hear about it, I think I'm going to oppose. I think it makes sense to keep it in committee because, first of all, we just heard the word bond exclusion or debt exclusion. I'm not aware of any credible plan to deal with Phillips Drive this year, financially, operationally, or otherwise. It may be forthcoming. The meeting that many of us attended did seem to indicate that there was a commitment to doing a design, but the timeline on that, Mr. President, was of debate, I guess, or of discussion. So I think out of respect for the residents, maybe if we keep it in committee, it will give the council a way to stay active in the process and discuss it in the context of other priorities as well.
Other comments? Other councilors? Councilor Lane.
All right, Chair, I'd like to agree with the Ward 1 councilor. I think that the folks at Phillips Drive would really appreciate if we did keep that conversation on the table. I'd like to see more of a plan come as well fairly soon.
Thank you. Other councilors? Seeing no further comment, I believe the motion is still receive and file with a second. Councilor Connell.
Yeah, Mr. President, seeing that some councilors are uncertain about how we might proceed, I withdraw my motion to receive and file and replace that with a motion to recommit this matter to committee for further review.
Second.
Okay, any debate on that? All those in favor by voice vote of recommitting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's recommitted. Is that it from, no, you've got one more.
No, two more, actually.
Two more, all right.
Thank you, Mr. President, and through you to the members. I move that we receive and file Communication 219, the Snow and Ice Plan.
Second. Any further comment? Yes, Councilor.
Yes, Mr. President, we have actually had a rather interesting discussion about this particular matter. It was voted 3-0 to receive and file. There's not an actionable item. We were reviewing the plan. However, attending the meeting was Councilor Khan, who had some questions about enforcement that we deemed appropriate. I know that she was considering some amendments to the plan, but around enforcement issues, it would also require some statutory changes. So although we're willing to receive and file the plan as it's drafted, I think we should be advised that some other action related to the statutory authority of enforcement might be forthcoming.
Councilor Khan, did you want to speak?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Aside from that, there is an amendment I'd like to propose as well. I didn't know if you wanted me to just address that now, but under the page 3 of that, and I thought if we could make this insertion, then we could provide it back to DPS and then post it on the website. But there's a section where there's alternate designated parking areas, and given that there was a lot of interest about using the garage, and I know we discussed I believe at the Parking Advisory Committee, talked about a flat rate being available. So I was wondering if we can insert, after we describe the locations of the lots, if a line could be inserted where, do you want me to dictate it, or would you like to write it? But essentially, for a flat rate, residents can park in the parking garage, if that's acceptable to everyone here.
If I could, go ahead, Clerk.
I think we would name it at the garage, which is called Tickham Street Garage.
Okay.
And then say, a flat rate during snow emergencies.
And if I could clarify, and then I'll go to Councilor Zede. I think what the format of this, Mr. Clerk, is a letter. It's our recommendation. We can't amend it. We can recommend that they amend it. Does that sound right?
Yes, that sounds right.
Councilor Zede.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I was going to actually state that I don't think this is the right vehicle to set parking policy, and that should be an order of the City Council, as all of our other ones are. But I also think, more importantly, that following on the heels of our retreat, keeping things separate, this is a communication. Effectively, it's a letter from the Department of Public Services on their operational plan for snow and ice. We control parking. That's our role. I think that's well accepted. And how they plow the streets, they say pave, how they plow the streets certainly is operational. So I would kind of prefer we don't intermingle the two. And if there is I think there is an outstanding need to codify if there is going to be a flat rate in the garage. I know that was discussed and perhaps done under some other authority for the time being. Also haven't had very much snow. But that might be a better, more appropriate place to do it, and then it can be discussed as all other parking orders are.
Councilor Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, if I may suggest, perhaps we could do both. We could We could suggest that this be rewritten, since this is going to be the guideline for the city, and maybe just after that flat rate, we put in parentheses to be determined, so that then furthermore we can kind of discuss it, and then as the determination becomes clear, we don't have to keep coming back to these things. But this is a public document, theoretically out there for the public to understand where the parking is, but it's going to be determined at some point in time if we're going to put a flat rate in there. That's just a suggestion.
Other comments on this? Well, I'm going to rule that it is in order for us to vote on whether to direct the clerk to write a letter or send an email to suggest the change. And then the point is well taken by a counselor from Ward 1 that if someone wants to introduce legislation, they can do that at another time. But it is in order. I don't know what 19th century term I'm supposed to use, but it's related to the motion on the floor. I'd like to dispose of that motion first. So if the Councilor Khan would please make a motion to send this letter, maybe she can get a second and we can go from there.
Yeah. So do I have to withdraw my amendment? So I'll first.
Excuse me. Point of order, Mr. President. I believe we have a motion on the floor. We have to dispose of that before we take another motion.
I'm trying to decide how to deal with it.
I'll withdraw my motion to amend.
Okay, well, that makes it easy.
And then I will motion.
Well, why don't we dispose with a motion to receive and file, and then we'll take your motion. It'll still be in order. I think Councilor Connell is right. So the motion on the floor, and I will take and bait, is merely to receive and file the snow and ice plan.
Right.
That's the motion.
We reviewed it.
You still have an opportunity to make your motion. Is there any debate on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's received and filed. Now you can make your motion.
Yes. So thank you, Council President. So I will make a motion to direct our the clerk to write a letter with the recommendation to modify the 2019-2020 plan to include something to the effect that would provide information about the Titcomb parking garage being available at a flat rate during snow emergencies.
Second.
Councilor Tonter was next.
Last fall, late last summer, I attended a parking advisory committee meeting, and I raised that issue as to whether we could do that. And we were told at that meeting that it would cause a problem because we had just okayed permits for employees downtown to, the concern was if the garage is filled with residents, all right, the employees would come in after a snowstorm and they paid for a permit and they didn't have a right to a space, but it would be filled. So the request then was to wait till we had one year of data, and now we've come close to having 1 year of data, although very few snowstorms. So I'm wondering, has anyone looked at that data? Has anyone considered it? And I would suggest we ought to look at it before we vote on this to make sure that we're not causing an unintended consequence.
Before I move on, I'm going to use my discretion to ask the parking clerk, who's sitting here, do we have data from the last couple of storms? We have any idea?
We do. I don't have any hard data right now, but we were very concerned about that. We have about 200 outstanding permits, believe it or not, for the garage. It's actually, as of today, 217 permits for the garage, and that includes resident and employee permits. So we were very concerned if we move to a flat rate, depending on whether that rate is high or low, whether the employees would be quite disappointed when they came and there was no room. However, we tried a test during the last storm at $12 flat rate, and it did not fill up. Again, it was a weekend storm, so I'm not sure how much of a test that was, but I think I can say for the parking team that we feel comfortable at 12 to go for another storm just to see how it goes.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Well, that's the data. Let's go back to the debate and we'll go around again. So Councilor Devlin, Councilor Khan, then Councilor Z.
I'm going to let Councilor Khan go first. I assume that she wants to answer the prior, then I'll go.
Oh, fair enough.
Yes, thank you, Councilor. I think I just want to clarify, too, that the policies of vacating are very specific for a snow emergency. So within, I think when the lights go on to when the lights turn off, you have a certain number of hours to vacate where you're parking for the snow emergency. So I just want to clarify, there's a really specific outline of vehicles and when they have to leave during a snow emergency. So I just wanted to point that out.
Back to Councilor Devlin.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think this is a great idea in principle. I think we're putting the cart before the horse. This is going to get published, and it's going to assume that we're going to have a flat fee in the garage. Then someone's going to propose that change. It's going to go through the Parking Advisory Committee, and it's going to go to the committee for debate. It might not come out that way, or it might not come at all. It might prove to be feasible. I think it's an excellent idea, but I think we need to do the other part first before we do this.
Councilor Zede was next.
Yeah, just echo that this is not the right vehicle. This isn't the debate we're having right now. We have a snow and ice plan. We've received and filed it now. The only thing I could suggest, if we wish to send a letter to DPS, is just to continuously homogenize the snow and ice plan with the City Council's parking structure. However, that may change now and in the future, and I think that gets the point across that we want to have the up-to-date information included.
Other councilors scanning the globe. Councilor Vogel.
I'm going to stand and stay persuaded by that argument as well. I think we're putting carts before the horse here. We can always come back and let the public know what's happening in the parking garage.
Okay. Further debate. Councilor McCauley.
I'm going to make a suggestion. I think it's good conversation that goes on here, but I would agree that we might be over our skis here a little bit in terms of this policy. I would suggest instead of the council sending a formal letter through the clerk, that possibly the at-large councilor send her own letter to the head of DPS, because she had many good suggestions and comments and edits along the way that I think they would just incorporate automatically without involving the full council.
I'm not seeing any other debate. So the question on the floor is whether to direct the clerk to write the letter on behalf of the council. So I think we're ready to vote. We can do it by voice vote. Councilor Khan.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to add one more thing, though, and I think a lot of this is the residents and their perception and clarity on what we're doing. And so I do know that we have opened the garage up for residents to use during a snow emergency. And if we're not making sure that they're being told that, and so I guess I'm just a little bit like, I've been hearing conflicting information. I first asked about whether or not this would come in through as a change or a rate change through the council, and then I heard that the Parking Advisory Committee has some leeway to make some modifications to the parking rate. And if that's not true, then I would rather go through the process of introducing what that policy is. Because if we're saying one thing that residents could use for a flat rate, but now we're afraid to put it in a way that residents can find it, I just find that just, it doesn't seem fair. So maybe I will just withdraw the concept of the letter, since I could already tell people are not in favor of it. But what I will do then is I will see if there's a way we could introduce some type of an order on what that parking rate is. So I will withdraw the request for the letter.
Before I go to Councilor Zede, let me ask the parking clerk. So I was aware of the $12 flat fee. We were texting about it with Councilor Shand, because it's mostly wards 2 and 3. So I'd assume we had the authority to do it. I didn't think we were right. I mean, you already have the authority to do emergency parking rates.
Correct,
Okay.
and that's what we went under, but I didn't do it unilaterally. I did it with the Parking Advisory Committee.
Okay.
With the idea that we would test it out, and I thought it was a good test. Okay. Again, it's short. If we're going to do it, we probably should do another test or two before it's codified, unless you want to keep it open-ended.
Councilor Zede.
I just wanted to, I appreciate the need for clarity, and I think that's a point well taken. But I do want to be clear, too, for the residents that the Parking Advisory Committee has no authority to make changes unilaterally. It's not even a standing committee of the City Council. It's sort of an ad hoc, if you will. So any changes do need to come through the council. Who does have authority is the parking clerk statutorily. There is room, particularly on emergency parking. We use the term emergency here and we debate about that, so I'll leave that for people's imaginations. That's my hesitation. That's why. So If somebody likes the $12 flat rate, bring it in, let's have the debate, let's pass it. If we don't feel we're ready to do that, then let's accept that we need to do another test or two before we do, because the other side of the clarity argument is if you put it in the document and then it's not true, it's actually worse. If people show up and think they're gonna pay 12 and then they leave and they get a bill for $50 for whatever hours, it's not gonna work out well.
Okay, we actually don't have a motion on the floor anymore.
All right.
So we've beaten that one to death.
Yes, second, Mr. Chairman.
So, anything else in neighborhood and city services? Barry? Tony? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Well, I thought we wanted to talk about parking some more. Yes, I'd like to move to confirm appointment 139 Anthony Fernari as the Director of Public Services.
Did you get the second, Clerk?
I think I got several seconds.
Okay.
If I may, thank you, and through you to the members. Our vote, after extensive consideration of Mr. Fernari's qualifications, his history, and his objectives for the coming years, was 3-0 to ask the full council to confirm his appointment. One of the things that I think persuaded me and impressed me about Mr. Fernari is his completely forthcoming attitude about anything you wanted to ask. And I think one of his great strengths is the fact that when a resident has a question, he's the same way, face to face with them at their doors. And he gives people straight answers. It's not always the answer that they want to hear, but it's usually the answer that they need to hear. And I think for that reason, he's been very successful in his position. And I guess if I was to nominate someone as a star among the municipal employees of the city, Tony Fernari would be that person. So I strongly urge you members to endorse his reappointment. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you said the committee vote as well?
3-0.
3-0. You'd say. Further debate on the renomination? I'm not seeing any. This is a roll call.
It is. Term will expire February 1st, 2023.
Let's call it.
Councilor Khan.
Yes.
Councilor Lane.
Yes.
Councilor McCauley.
Yes.
Councilor Shan.
Yes.
Councilor Tontar.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel.
Yes.
Councilor Wallace.
Yes.
Councilor Zede.
Yes.
Councilor Connell.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Enthusiastically. Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Eigenman.
Yes.
An enthusiastic, unanimous vote for Anthony Fernari.
Is that it for tonight?
That's it.
Okay. Planning and development?
Nothing tonight, Council President.
Nothing tonight. On to public safety.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Public utilities?
Just very briefly, we'll be meeting on Wednesday night at 6:30 for Bayberry Road. There is a request to do underground work by National Grid, so I'm talking to the cameras. If there's any residents who would like to attend and understand more about the project, please attend. Be here at City Hall.
Thank you. Rules Committee? Councilor Vogel?
If I may just report out a little bit through you, Mr. President. We do have that one issue that came in this evening, and we'll meet the obligation of discussing it before the next City Council meeting. What I would like to encourage all of you is if you have amendments that you would like or changes to the rules, to get them to me. Get them to me before the next meeting, and we'll get them into the agenda for the next meeting, and then we'll take up the whole batch and report that out at the last meeting in February. Does that make sense? So get it to me in time to get it into the packet for the next meeting. And you can do it on a Word document. You want to take the rules out by Word, amend them, do whatever you want, send them over, and we'll pull it all together into, get it to the clerk, get it into the packet, and then we'll discuss it in time for the last meeting of the month.
Okay, that's it for thank you. We're done with committee reports. So good of the order. Anyone have anything good in the order? I have something, but please, others first. Councilor Tontar.
I don't know where to do this because it's not a committee, but it is the Charter Review Committee. We'll be having a public hearing on February 5th at 7 o'clock. It's posted at the Senior Community Center. We will be having another public hearing on February 26th at the Senior Community Center. And the public is welcome to come, and also councilors are also welcome to attend and suggest. We are also welcome for anyone to councilors and otherwise to write in their suggestions for changes, revisions to the charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Other councilors? Okay, what I'm going to do now is turn it over to the most senior, most member, Councilor Connell, to preside, because we have to discuss, and I can't participate, meeting as a special permit granting authority for the Anna Jakes Hospital special permit. My wife and I have given some money to them, and we've pledged to give more. I guess we will. And so I can't participate. And Councilor Connell will take you through the procedure of setting a meeting and so on. So I'll step aside and come back afterward.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's nice to see that you're on the record as making an additional contribution.
Substantial.
This is pretty much a pro forma activity. We have, Councilor Khan.
Yes, thank you, Council Interim President. My husband works at Anna Jakes, so I will be recusing myself from the steps we're going to take to grant the special permit. Should I excuse myself in the room too? Okay. Bye.
Don't go far, we won't be too long.
Am I patient? Do I have to?
I've been there.
Yeah, I spent some time in the hospital once. Is that it? Yeah. All right. Yeah, as the council president and I discussed previously, and he explained to you, as the statute requires that the city council sit as a special permit granting authority on matters related to healthcare facilities in the city, and obviously Anna Jakes has applied for a permit to expand some facilities. Therefore, we have to meet, and it has to be a 5-member or larger committee of the city council that acts on a special permit. So what I would like to do is 2 things. 1, set a date for us to meet, so get out your calendars. And number 2, I would entertain a motion to adopt the rules of the planning board for the purposes of conducting that hearing, which is our responsibility.
What does that
so let's
mean?
do them in the first order.
What does that mean?
That they have certain procedures that they follow in accordance with state law regarding the issuance of their decisions. So we need procedures according to the statute, and I thought it was convenient, or the council president thought it convenient, and I agreed, that we adopt the procedures that they use so that there's no inconsistency with the way the city operates in this manner.
Understood. Thank you.
So the first thing is dates for a meeting, and we have to have at least 5 members present. Do I have any suggestions? I think the statute requires at least a 2-week, 14-day notice period. So it can't be within 14 days of tonight. So let's move forward about 3 weeks, and I would say that the 3rd week in February is probably our best shot. Councilor Zeid, what do you suggest?
Well, I have a question first, Mr. President, for the moment. So first thing is, I'd emailed with Andy Port today. I was just asking questions because I've never done this before, and he said 3 weeks was the minimum. So I don't know if there's a discrepancy there.
The statute reads 14 days, but go ahead.
Okay, so then my apologies. And the second question is, do we need to wait for the clock to start ticking until February 10th when this actually comes in? I mean, does this exist until it's introduced on this floor for us? In other words, is it 3 weeks from 14 days from February 10th? Or the way I look at it is this doesn't exist yet. It's vapor. It's not here yet, and now it can't come in until February 10th. So
let me ask the clerk for...
I think the Councilor Ward 1 makes a good point. You could set the date now, it comes in, but then you raise the possibility of a legal issue that you didn't have it in your advertising, so why raise the issue? We have plenty of time. You have 65 days from the date you receive it, I believe.
And the 3rd week in February is February vacation.
All right, so I think that's...
And it would, frankly, I think it would be too tight anyways, because it's 14 days, but then you have to get it, you have to formulate it. It's really closer to 3 weeks.
So what do we lose?
From the 10th.
So you have a calendar in front of you, Joe?
I do as well, yeah.
Yep.
can we look at the last week in February as a possibility? Do you think that's a safe,
We do have a meeting on the 24th,
all right, that's Monday.
Monday, so it would be,
Charter review hearing on Wednesday, the 26th.
And that thing,
Tuesday, the 25th, or Tuesday, the 3rd of March would be my suggestions.
Tuesday, the 25th? Is Tuesday, the 25th open? Would folks take a look?
That's how about, my preference would be the next Tuesday,
The 3rd.
the 3rd.
March 3rd?
sure.
Does anyone have an objection?
Super Tuesday.
Hearing none, we will
What time, Barry,
schedule the meeting.
Mr. President?
I think 7 o'clock is a general meeting time that we usually, earlier than that, people sometimes get pressed getting dinner in after coming home from work. So let's post that for March 3rd at 7 PM, if that's acceptable to the members.
I think we just hold on posting until we get it. Just my suggestion.
but at least we know.
Are the members acceptable leaving it a little bit vague until we get some confirmation in the process?
We're penciled in.
Pencil it in for March 3rd, 7 o'clock.
Wrote that down. I wrote the words penciled
That's the
in.
first item. The second item is, I would accept a motion for us to adopt, and this would require an affirmative vote of the members sitting tonight, the rules of the planning board in the conduct of our hearing and in the manner of voting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Z.
I'm sorry, I will have to vote present. I don't know what the rules are, I've never read them, so I actually would feel more comfortable, given that we meet 700 times a year, that we follow our rules, but I understand that this is different because it's land use. I just don't know what their rules are. And then the other thing I was going to say is, I do think that if we come to some decision, some findings, which I think we have to statutorily, that we do not accept those findings and vote on them in the same night. We should make the findings and a document should be written and then come back 2 weeks later. Everybody has the same findings. I think that's important. That's very important to me. So I don't know if in their rules they allow that or don't, because I've never read them, to be honest with you. That's out of my bailiwick.
Perhaps the clerk could guide us on this. I mean, I believe the rules are number one, making certain that they didn't run afoul of state law regarding disposition of questions regarding land use. But perhaps there are some other nuances that, not having sat on the planning board, I missed.
Yeah, I'm not intimately familiar with the rules either. I do know that there has been a change recently with respect to how they write the opinions and include their findings.
Well, one way around this would be for us to just to hold off on this. Until we have the rules in front of us, we can review them. I would ask the clerk then to meet with the planning office and ask them to distribute the rules through the clerk's office to all the members, so that our next meeting of the city council, we can act on the rules, so we have something in place when we finally do get together on the 3rd.
You can send that out, Mr. President, to everyone as long as there's no debate online.
Yes. Is that acceptable, Councilor?
That's exactly what I was going to suggest. We have time now that we could work out those details, so thank you.
Any other
I'll
comments?
withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments or discussion at this time? Hearing none. I think we can call the members back in and adjourn.
Okay, thank you for doing that. All we have left, I guess, would be to entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.